Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the BLACKBIRD PLC full year results investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged. They can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab that's just situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Please just simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company can review all questions submitted today and will publish those responses where it's appropriate to do so on the Investor Meet Company platform. Before we begin, I would like to submit the following poll, and as usual, if you could give that your kind attention, I'm sure the company would be most grateful. And I would now like to hand you over to CEO Ian McDonough. Ian, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jake. Thank you very much. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to BLACKBIRD's 2023 full year results. I'm here presenting today with my esteemed colleagues, Stephen Streeter, our R&D Director, Steve White, our COO and CFO, and Sumit Rai, our Chief Product Officer. Right, on with the show. So just a quick reminder about who we are and what we do. We are BLACKBIRD PLC. We are an AIM-listed business that is in the media tech space. And our core product, BLACKBIRD, is sold to the professional editing community, particularly in the area of high-end sports and news. Our new product, Elevate.io, is a SaaS content creation tool that is focused on the creator economy. Our platform is built around proven, patented technology that is highly scalable and efficient, and we have quite a number of marquee customers that I'll cover off a bit later. We're also multi-award winning, highly carbon efficient, and as such, we're actually part of the green economy mark on the London Stock Exchange. Previously, we've also won the Queen's Award and indeed Product of the Year at the NAB Awards. So 2023 highlights to date. The platform was used on most sporting events in 2023. This is really because of its pedigree, its stability, its reputation as being the fastest video editor in the world. As we move into 2024, we'll be used on the big summer games that happen later in the summer. I'm not allowed to mention which ones they are, but I'm sure you can have a good guess about that. We're also aligning with the fast-growing creator space. So this is the economy, the creator economy that's just below in terms of budgets and in terms of simplicity or complexity than the media entertainment space. So if you imagine that the 100-meter sprint is on the very top of that pinnacle, well, just below that, there is a whole huge market of the creator economy that's growing very quickly. The Elevate.io product that I just mentioned at the top is approaching general release at the end of Q1. And we have indeed focused on that product over the last 18 months, which is really a reflection on how the results have turned out this time. There's been cost trimming across the board in terms of BLACKBIRD, which means that last May we actually took out a lot of our sales team, our direct white glove sales team and marketing team, really to make sure that our finite resources were focused on where we think we'll get the biggest return on our investment, return on our efforts, which is on Elevate.io. Also, on a corporate level, we've just had a new director join our board, Anna Kirchhoff. She's a real heavyweight, big hitter in terms of SaaS experience and in the B2B and B2C space. She replaces John Honeycutt, who's exiting. We've also recently, just last week actually, done a £1.05 million placing. This is because a number of high net worth individuals showed interest in investing in our story directly, and really to give the company a small war chest to make sure that when Elevate.io goes to general release at the end of March, that we have the right data sets to take to investors later in the year and next year. It's really about making sure that the KPIs that we have around Elevate are, in terms of growth rates, in terms of user adoption, in terms of R rates, in terms of virality, really are the right data sets. So as I mentioned, we were on BLACKBIRD was trusted on most of the major events in 2023. That's indeed the Super Bowl, the Women's World Cup, the Rugby World Cup, every tennis Grand Slam, pretty much, the Ryder Cup in it as well. And this year, as I said, we're going to be on the major summer games. And we're the fastest video editing platform in the world, and that is why those platforms really want to use us, because the half-life of sports content and news content is in fact very short. So the faster you can get content to the viewers, the better. Now, the media and entertainment sector. In 2021, we took a decision that we felt the media and entertainment sector was not one that we were going to scale the business in massively. And we raised money at the end of 2021 in order to build our product for the creator space. the forecast that the view, the foresight that we had in 2021 really has come to pass. In the media and entertainment space, there's been structural issues, cyclical issues, industry consolidation across the board, and widespread layoffs in the industry. And advertising in that space is really not growing very quickly at all. It's highly competitive, and a lot of the big beasts in the media are really trying to find a sustainable business models for their main emphasis now, which is on streaming. So we felt it wasn't an area that we were going to grow in quickly, although, as I said, we have a fantastic reputation in that space. I'm going to pass over to Steve now, who's going to talk a little bit about the numbers, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about Elevate.io.
Thank you, Ian. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So our revenues for fiscal year 23 were down 32% to 1.9 million. This was primarily driven by one-off items in 2022. The development fees that we got on the EVS technology licensing deal, and the fees that we got for the Winter Games. There were also a number of deal losses. A&E, which we announced back in May, ended at the end of June, and Delta Tray and NHL. And you can see that had an impact as well on our monthly recurring revenue, which is down 32% year on year at the end of December. A reminder that this excludes our annual minimum guarantee that we get on the technology licensing deal, which is going to equate to €260,000 in fiscal year 24. Next slide, please. Our order book similarly took a bit of a hit from the A&E deal loss, but also, because we've got 1 year less of our major multi-year deals. As Ian mentioned, we're very focused on getting the M&E business to an EBITDA break-even position, and as well as the cost initiatives that we took last year, we've also made some this year, which will add an extra to 200,000 to EBITDA going forwards. Our cash position remains strong. We had 6.5 million cash in the bank at the end of the year. The reason the cash burn went up year on year was our investment on Elevate.io. We remain debt-free, and our cash position is just over 7 million with the placing that we just recently announced and the management subscription.
So, Elevate.io. Elevate.io has not been created in a vacuum. We've engaged the opinions and the knowledge of over 300 people within the development of the product. That's in a quantitative and a qualitative way. And what we've learned from those users or potential users is that the markets, the products that they use today have three distinct problems. Firstly, that people are at this level of content are being asked to use tools that are really designed for Hollywood. We're talking about Adobe Premiere Pro, we're talking about DaVinci Resolve, and we're talking about Final Cut. So they're complex and they're locally installed products. Secondly, they're not able to collaborate easily with these products. They have to use clunky third-party software, and that causes delays and indeed possibly an impact on the quality of the product. And thirdly, there's very limited extensibility currently. So there is no open marketplace, for instance, to look for AI software or for video libraries or indeed certain special effects. So our product will have an open marketplace where independent content creators or developers can add their wares to the marketplace, and then you can buy them through Elevate. So it's really about creating a powerful web platform with live multiplayer collaboration, so that any number of creators can work together at the same time, simultaneously, to either make content together, review content together, or to approve it once it's been made, if you're a customer, for instance, an agency working with a client. Now, the market size we're going to is really huge. The creator economy is currently estimated by Goldman Sachs to be worth around $250 billion a year, growing by 2027 to around $500 billion a year. Now, that's the creator economy as a whole. If you're looking at the tools and services part of that, which is where Elevate will be launched into, it's currently around a $20 billion market a year, but growing to about $180 billion by 2032. So it's really a healthy market, really fast growing. Now, the serviceable addressable market that we're going into, so imagine that pyramid or that triangle of video where the high-end sports is right at the top. as you come down one level to that, we're talking about professional teams, monetized creators, independent filmmakers, podcasters, etc. These are a group of people that are used to paying for their tools, creating content of value, and making money from their content generally. That market is estimated currently to be around a $7 billion a year market. So this is not the TikTok market. This is not the Instagram market. This is a market. It's very much adjacent to where we are today. We understand the needs of these people. We understand the way that they buy content, they buy their software, and that's the area that we're going into. So just in conclusion, just to say well, just to remind you that the technology pedigree of Blackbird is exceptional. It's used by the highest end of sports and news around the world. In terms of going to market, this really big market that we're currently entering into, there's very few players. There are lots of tools at the kind of lower end of the market. We call them the toys at the bottom end, or there's the Hollywood tools at the high end. But where we're pitching our product, which is the powerful content, the powerful web connected, and there is very few tools there. And also, there are certain poster child companies for the products that we're launching. That is a collaborative web-based tools. By that, we're talking the likes of Figma or Canva, which have had valuations in the tens of billions. So if we get this right, if we crack it in the right way, we believe that there's that opportunity for Elevate.io. So it's really a very exciting time, and I invite your questions.
Perfect, Ian, that's great. And thank you all for your presentation this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions just by using the Q&A tab that's situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. But just while the team take a few moments to review those questions that were submitted already, I would like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. Guys, we obviously received a number of pre-submitted questions ahead of today's event, and as you can see there in the Q&A tab, we've also received a number of questions throughout your presentation this morning as well. So firstly, thank you to all of those on the call for taking the time to submit their questions. And guys, if I may just hand back to you just to read out those questions and give your responses where it's appropriate to do so, and I'll pick up from you at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. Yes, we'll do that now. So the first question is, how many people are currently testing Elevate? So Elevate is going to be launching to go to general release at the end of March, or near the end of March. Currently, we are testing with the appropriate number of people that will give us that rich data. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about how we're going to be entering the market later in the month.
Yeah, sure. So as most of you know, for the early access period, we're doing it in tranches, and it's really important that we do it in a pyramid. So we really want to focus on a small group of people and slowly slowly expanding the groups at which we test. It's really important to understand that what we need in earlier stages was a high amount of input from a few amount of people. And we're slowly widening that. So I believe we've got 67 very core people who have been involved right from the beginning going through that. But as we get ready in the next fortnight or so, we will be widening it to a much wider market of early access. And I know that includes a lot of people who signed up from the investment community. So do look out for that. You will get into the product ahead of our general release.
Okay, and so do you want to take the AI question as well? So will AI be an integral part of Elevate.io, or will it be available via a third-party connection?
Sure. So AI is such a broad term. There will be elements of the product that we obviously have that technically would use elements of our own AI or AI that we're licensing on behalf of others. But really the biggest opportunity is for us to integrate with the AI services that are already out there. So we've been experimenting for when we're at the right time with Elevate to open it up to third parties, but we've been experimenting with OpenAI, amongst others, a lot of speech engines and image generation engines. And the truth is, it's impossible for us to compete with these engines. It's far better that we use our tool to syndicate as many of those engines as we can, and then it enriches what we're doing without us having to do the work or make the investment, which in an AI play is in the billions of dollars.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it really makes Blackbird also Elevate the hub of this industry and gives the creators the choice to use whichever engine they feel is most appropriate. Next question, is Elevate.io on track to be released in Q1, i.e. by 30th of March? Happy to say yes. In fact, one of our people that we met last week, our investors we met last week, was really quite amazed that we were on track, because most software projects are not. One thing to note here, though, is that Elevate will never, ever, ever be finished. We don't intend it ever to be finished. It's always going to be iterated on and built on. So when we are going to general release at the end of Q1, it is a first iteration, it's a freemium model. And it is about building community and working in agile fashion so that we can make sure that what we add to it, and we've got a really big list of things we want to add to it, is done in the right order. Next question. I assume that the Powered by Blackbird agreement with EVS gives royalties to Blackbird with a contractual minimum royalties payment. Do the royalties we're receiving currently exceed the contractual minimum? So it's a minimum guarantee, as we call it. Currently, we're not exceeding the minimum. So it's still, that gives some indication actually to the speed of which the M&E market works. It is pretty slow. So we're hoping that will start rolling out more quickly soon. I'm sorry that you're seeing a lot of slides pass past us, but anyway, so that will move faster soon. But currently, it's not exceeding it now. We have not heard from Andrew Bentley for ages. Is he still around, and will he be at this meeting? Ignore the question if he turns up. Well, Andrew definitely is around. Andrew was quite instrumental in bringing Andy Kirchhoff on board just recently, and is very much a great counsel for all of us on the executive committee and on the board to talk to. So yes, he's very much around. What is the latest position on enterprise? Can we have further details on the contracts, and will they merge in some way with Elevate? We have no plans at this stage to merge the platforms. Elevate is going to be focused on very much its own segment in the creator space. And we are focused. We still have a sales team in place for Blackbird, really focused on partnerships and larger deals, particularly in the US. So I think we've said that previously, and that's still the situation. What is the latest position for subscriber numbers? Well, I think we've covered that off with Summit's earlier response, so I think that's probably fine for now. When is Kodak Blackbird 10 and the player to be released? As we understand, they were to be released in January this year. Now, there's quite a lot of questions on the player that I've seen ahead of time, so I'm going to give Stephen the floor now just to talk about Blackbird 10. And
I'll talk about the split. So we have a very agile system of working here, with the teams all working together, the different development and product teams. And the clear result of our discussions from quite a long way back, in fact, not far dissimilar from our fundraising in 2021, is that the editor is the core of the platform. And then from the editor, you hang off the other features. And that includes things like the player, but also AI integrations and, well, I'll let Summit talk, there's quite a few exciting things there. But the key thing is to focus on getting the core platform to the level that we need it to be before we divert too much resources to the other elements. I will just mention that the whole of Elevate is originally built from the React player. And it's also used in M&E. The player is used in M&E by all our clients in the control center, where they access their media asset manager. So it is in use, and it does exist, but it's really as a technology tool. It's available for use by the other areas, and Elevate is the area we're focusing on at the moment.
do you want to talk about Blackbird 10 as well?
Yes, so Blackbird 10 is a similar idea. That's sort of continuing along in the background, but Elevate doesn't need Blackbird 10 for the launch. So we've been focusing on the things that will work. For example, a good experience on the public cloud. This is the first time we've had a public cloud product, and that is strategically really important because of the scalability. Up till now, the M&E and Blackbird Editor runs on our own cloud, which is brilliant and very efficient. But we don't see our long term as replacing out servers in a rack. We see it as developing the software in a scalable way. And for the first time, we've been able to use public cloud. So that has led to some technology developments, which Blackbird 10 will contribute to. But there are things ahead of the queue. So it's all about sequencing in the right order to deliver the best products earliest. So that really summarizes that.
Thanks, Stephen. Okay, next question. If we're on target for Elevate.io, when will we see a share price rise? And is it taking an inordinate amount of time to rise the share price if Elevate.io is to be successful? Well, we're not in charge of the share price. We wish we were in some ways, but of course we're not, because we're all shareholders. So it's important that we stay in our lane, we make sure we hit our numbers, and that will, we think, result in a share price rise. But we can't guarantee any share price rise because there's so many other factors that are involved. How long we have to wait to see if Elevate.io is going to succeed or fail? And if it fails, what next? Well, we're all in business. There are no guarantees in business, and we all have to work with the best information we have at the time. We feel with Elevate.io that we've done the research, we've had a vision, we've listened to the community, we've brought in the very best people, and by that I do refer to Summit joining the team and others in the development team joining, and we think we've created the very best product that we possibly can. So we've given it every chance of success, but we certainly can't give you any guarantees. So let's see what happens next. We're going to learn an awful lot this year, which we're very excited about. Now, Elevate.io on the horizon, what do you hope for the shareholders' first dividend? Well, that's going down the line a bit. Well, I think we may well see a dividend when we start to be profitable, but at this stage, that's a little bit off, I would say, for now. What will happen to the company if Elevate.io is not a success? Well, we don't want to think too negatively, but we have, as I said earlier, we've given it every chance of success. So let's see what happens when we learn. We've created Elevate as an agile platform. So I think that as it lands, we will really see and we will adapt accordingly. I was just actually at a focus group event yesterday that Summit organised, and hearing from a whole range of skill sets across the room, you can really see where Elevate.io fits. It is putting a product in the market that does not exist currently, and will save an awful lot of time, add an awful lot of additional bandwidth to that editor community. I know you want to pick up on that at all?
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning. We ran quite a large session yesterday, it had multi-purposes. It was to help craft some of the marketing messages, even some of the content that goes into it. But more importantly, it was one of the last passes that we're doing before general release of group testing with complete unknowns, because obviously if we test the product within ourselves, we already know it too well. And it was incredibly encouraging. Most of the group have been with us from the beginning of the research process, and each of our groups created a whole collaborative video together. So they were all divided up into groups. They were all given the software, no tuition, no help, we really had to keep our hands off it. And it was fascinating, fun, and really exciting to see everything that the groups came up with, and all the things that they know that they want that's coming, that is in line already with what we believe. So it was good to get that confirmation. But more importantly, everybody saw the future. Everybody understood fully, okay, we all understand where this is going. We understand what you're doing. We're behind it. It makes a lot of sense. And we did have some representation from the M&E side in the sport world. And it was fascinating. They've always been sort of helping us with this because they're clients of ours. They've always been helping. But I think it was the first time yesterday they actually saw, hold on, this actually could be used even in our world. The lines will blur eventually between what is a dedicated M&E product and what is a general purpose editor. So that was really quite encouraging.
There was one interesting anecdote from a gentleman that works in the corporate video space, who said to work with a traditional NLE, which they're currently using in that space, it would take a person that's brand new to it, that has never edited before, it would take about 6 months to get to the point where they're making content proficiently. And he said if they're using Elevate.io, he said we could do that in probably half a day. So you can see how the difference is there in terms of the accessibility of the product compared to what is being used today. It really does expand the market inordinately, and creates a very, very exciting opportunity.
There is another thing I would like to add, actually. One of the things we were absolutely sure of when we planned Elevate was that it was always going to be a collaborative product. That was always going to be the main essence of it. That's something that doesn't exist very well at all in the media production world. The media production world is unbelievably linear, and it's unbelievably expertise-based. So, an offline editor, an online editor, a sound person, a colorist, a graphics person, and it's a very linear process. And the one thing about Elevate, and it's one of those things where you can only understand it once you use it. So a lot of the people, and we were completely aware of this, a lot of people were going to be very hesitant to the idea of working on the same project simultaneously. There's a fear factor engaged in it. But it's amazing how quickly you break that. The hierarchy falls in place. And more importantly, how much fun people find it. Now, that may seem frivolous, but it's not. There's something far better, and we've seen this from other tools. Ian mentioned Figma and Canva, and most of Elevate is designed with Figma. And honestly, the benefit you get from working collaboratively, it transcends the technical advantage or the logistical advantage. It's actually, from a human point of view, it's actually quite fun. And so we know that as media becomes very it's changed. It's changed in the last 20 years since when when Stephen started the company. The whole market's changed, and we're finally, all the stuff that we've developed is finally coming of time, because now is the opportunity for the kinds of technologies that we've built to be useful. And so, yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what the general public make of it.
Thanks, Sumit. Next question. Please explain the plans for increasing the sales achieved by enterprise business, and when do you expect this to reach profitability? Well, the focus on the enterprise business is really to get to EBITDA positive. We believe that will happen through focusing on partnerships and focusing on those larger deals in the US. That's something we stated earlier, and that's very much still the strategy. Next question. Why has John Honeycutt left as a non-executive director, and as he was very experienced in this field? Well, we have only a few spots for non-executive directors. We don't want to overload the board, and John has got amazing expertise in the M&E, the media entertainment sector. As we explained earlier, the emphasis at the moment is really getting expertise into the direct-to-consumer, direct-to-creator sector, and brings that experience. Do you have any information you can share regarding how you expect the business with EVS to grow over the next 3 years? Well, we think that what we heard is that the response from the customers is very positive. The market, as I've said several times, does move pretty slowly. So I do believe that in terms of the way the product will evolve, will be slow build up, but will be there for a very, very long time.
Which computer is this on?
Okay, next question. Sorry, we've got a notice on our computer that the computer might switch off, so we'll take that away. Right, next question. Grass Valley's website explanations about their AMP SaaS platform reads as though it's very much based on a BLACKBIRD technology, and BLACKBIRD is named as one of their alliance partners. They claim AMP is the future of media production and distribution. Can you please explain whether or not you believe this will translate into significant and visible transactions between BLACKBIRD and Grass Valley? If so, when? So, great question, and I know we have a great respect for Grass Valley. Yes, we are part of one of their alliance partners. We're not working with them in terms of a powered by BLACKBIRD model at this stage, but we wish them luck with that product. Next question. I know enterprise is best-in-class technology, and it's excellent to hear that you say it's being used in major sporting events. When you say that, is it just being used by one or maybe a few broadcasters for these events? And is there a potential to sign up many additional broadcasters for each event? Is there a potential to increase business at each big event? What are the plans to achieve this, and how feasible is it with very few salespeople in the company? Right. I think it's a great question, and yes, in certain aspects, we have been used by multiple content creators on the same event. So yes, that's absolutely possible. Second thing to say is that yes, in terms of expanding our usage at each and every event, on the Summer Games this year, we're not just going to be used by the host broadcasting service, but through an OEM. We're actually also going to be opened up to be used by rights holders around the world. So that really gives an idea of the flexibility of the BLACKBIRD platform and how it might be able to be opened up to numerous groups of content creators on the same event through the same kind of contract. So it's a different way of doing it. So it's a really good question to kind of allow me to talk about that very, very briefly. Okay, so and salespeople. Well, the salespeople that we have are US based, and they are very well connected. And so I think in terms of that area, which is a lot of people, know a lot of people in the same connection. It is good to have a kind of small but very well connected team to bring in those bigger deals. You said in your interview in LinkedIn on February 29th, that Elevate.io is a move into a bigger market than Enterprise has proved to be so far. You added that Elevate's target video creator marketplace is dominated by Adobe Premiere Pro, DaVinci, and Apple, all using high-end machines, lots of storage, and not web-based. Given the relatively huge size of these businesses and their huge budgets, how do you think they will react to the launch and promotion of Elevate? What is your plan to gain market share? I think is probably where it's going to go there next. Well, this is really about building a community first. So we as Sumit touched on very eloquently in the meeting yesterday we had with a whole range of editors, we're offering something new to the market where they can collaborate and they can create content simultaneously across the world, across the room or across the world. It's really something very new. It will definitely have its place, and it will grow in terms of its complexity, in terms of its richness of functionality. How we intend to do it is really we'll build it through a building community. First of all, offline, where we won't really have to talk about it very openly. But once we have the right amount of functionality on the product, we'll be much more forward in terms of the marketing. So don't expect to see any marketing next week. You'll see the announcements, of course, that'll be out there, but the marketing will come as we feel more comfortable with opening up to a larger community.
I think there's an important point about that. When building a community for a SaaS-based product, there are two ways you do it. You either build a genuine community and you build it collectively as you go, and you engage very highly with the users, and you go on the journey with them, or you bring them on your journey, or you go out and just plaster the world EasyJet style with, banners and adverts, and you're talking at people. The latter doesn't work anywhere near as close as the former. The former is by far the best strategy, which has been used by the likes of Figmas and Canva organizations. So what we don't want to do is go out and blow a huge amount of money on a mass market, one-way stream of marketing, sort of in a more traditional style. We want to build our marketing presence in the same spirit as Elevate as a product. And it's a SaaS-based thing. It grows organically. We grow with people, and we lean into opportunities where they are and not just talk at people. So it's really important that don't expect us to go out with huge, big, expensive campaigns. That would be a waste of time and money and not suit us well in the long run.
Yeah, thanks for that. What we call the first one is a multi-threaded launch, so that we build that community, we iterate, we're agile in terms of what we do next, as opposed to a linear launch, which is the more traditional one where you get a spike and then everyone kind of turns off. We want to make sure that we get the community built in the most authentic way possible and take them on a journey. Please, can you be specific about how the player product can assist creators? Well, I think we've talked about the player already, so Stephen's explained how that's fitting into the strategy at the moment. So I think we can go to the next question. Could Blackbird collect and sell the data derived from the player and video audience feedback and usage to third parties, or will it just charge creators if they want to obtain this information for themselves? We haven't built that part of the plan at the stage. It absolutely could do, but it's not an immediate priority for us. Stephen mentioned in 2022 that the player and codec 10 hasn't been used commercially so far because it's not needed for enterprise. I think we've covered off the codec point there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think we covered that now. Do you see the player's introduction? Okay, player again. We can move to the next one. How will the player be monetized again? I think we've covered off with the players at the stage. Are there any competitors that could offer the same degree of video data analytics? Okay, again, another player one. So again, the player will discuss at the right period when that's going to come out to the market. But it's at this stage, it's really about the basis of how Elevate's being built on the player, and that's the functionality we're talking about currently. Okay, again, we can probably go to question 27. Do you see AI video creation as potentially limiting for this market for Elevate? I mean, it's very much a complement and probably an accelerator in terms of video content creation and not a competitor. This is something that will be available through the marketplace for people to make content more quickly. Remember, the secret sauce that Blackbird brings to the party is the video codec and the video libraries around that. And that will be aided by AI. Ian and Stephen hold around a quarter of the company. Have you discussed the valuation that you would agree to if a third party came with an offer? Do you agree that takeover interest is likely to come, given it's likely that Elevate will have many patent protected advantages over competitor products? Thank you for your very positive and optimistic view of that. We agree with you that we'll have it will be a lot of interest. And yeah, we have a number of discussions about our kind of our dream scenario, but no, at this stage, nothing that we can announce formally. Thank you very much, though. Do you think that Frame.io valuation of 1.2 billion over 50 times revenues was a one-off, or do you envisage an appetite amongst the larger players for similar type deals? Well, I mean, it was a great valuation. I don't think it was a one-off. Steve, you probably could talk more about multiples.
Yeah, no, there's also been one. Adobe tried to obviously buy Figma, and that was on a similar 50-time multiple to their ARRs. So it would depend very much on the strategic value to the acquirer in terms of what they're prepared to pay.
Yeah. I think Loon went last year for just under $1 billion with a much higher multiple on revenue.
Yeah, so interesting. The multiple is still there. If you can crack that market, it's also worth noting that the market that Figma, for instance, is in is the interface design space. I mean, it is fairly niche when you compare it to video. So I'm not saying that we're going to get a higher valuation than Figma. I mean, we're beyond the bird view of me in this meeting, but you can see the opportunity there for people if we crack it right.
It's always worth reminding you that being on public cloud makes it actually viable for a trillion-dollar organization to buy us, as opposed to having something on dedicated hardware that we update ourselves. So you've seen strategically from Ian's previous slides, many of you, the move to public cloud has been a really important step.
Yeah.
And that's what Elevate.io is doing.
Yeah, it is true. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it earlier, but I would like to mention now is that it's the public cloud, it's the freemium model, and the virality of the platform that's really important. So those three things: the scale that the public cloud will give us, the fact that you can try it without having to sign up and pay, and thirdly that you automatically in its very nature you share it with other people to create content together. So it's got a viral nature to it. So yeah, that's really important. Hi Ian, earlier in last year you mentioned in an interview that you were tantalizingly close to giving out projected take-up figures on Elevate.io. Is this something you can now share, or do you not know this information until it's released? I think there's two aspects to that actually. Firstly, yeah, we don't know, because we're going to learn an awful lot this year. It's going to be very much an agile process. But secondly, we do have ambitions and we do have our own targets in mind. But we're in a competitive space. It's commercially sensitive information. This very video will, I'm sure, be seen by certain numbers of competitors, and we don't want to leave ourselves open to putting too much information in the market at the wrong time. So when we feel it's appropriate, we'll certainly have a view on that info. Just seeing the results after 25 years are very bad. Is this company doomed if Elevate fails this year? Can the company confirm that they have made mistakes in the past about their direction and should have gone down this route before concentrating on the large US corporations which saw it as a minnow UK company? Well, thank you for your summary. We believe that we've explained the results for 2023, given the fact that with our finite resources, we've really invested in Elevate.io, where we feel the market is now right for us to get a really big ROI. This market probably hasn't been right for us in the past. People are now talking about creating content in the cloud where they weren't currently. In terms of whether we admit our mistakes, well, we certainly would admit to being early. I think that's right. I mean, sometimes people say being early is as much as being wrong, is the same as being wrong. But Stephen's a visionary, and we've created something that nobody else has got, and I think that puts us in a very good position now to get a return on Elevate.io, really to take Stephen's technology to the very widest market and get the best return. Anyone want to cover anything else on that?
Yeah, and I think that sums it up. I mean, Sumit is the right person at the right time for this product.
Good. Okay, so the timing of the recent placing, when there appears to be ample cash reserves of £5.9 million, is it being at such a low price, and the fact that high net worth individuals who approach Blackbird could simply have bought in the market instead, suggest an ulterior motive for the raise. Are there expectations that the high net worth will help promote Elevate.io somewhere in the future? Well, certainly the ulterior motives are that the company gets the money directly and can build a war chest to make sure we get the right data set as we take Elevate.io through early access into general access and to grow the community, as we talked about. So yeah, the ulterior motive is nothing other than that. We want to make sure that we can give it the best birthing we can. And will the high net worth help promote Elevate.io? Well, they are influential and well known in the marketplace. So yeah, we think they might do, and we hope they do. Can you give some insight into your initial launch marketing strategy and the progress preparations made on this? Anything you didn't cover off earlier, Sumit, you want to talk about?
No, I think we covered our process.
Yeah. Are you winding down enterprise contracts to move them over to a new Elevate platform? No plans for that. Blackbird and Elevate will do different things. We never rule anything out in the future, but it's certainly not part of our initial priorities. It's really about making sure that Elevate is most suited for the market it's going into. And as Sumit said earlier on, there is a consumerization of B2B. And we wouldn't rule out the fact that those contracts might move over in the future, or indeed that those entities that use Blackbird might use Elevate for a different purpose. But at this stage, there's no plans. Question from Nicholas. Please, can you be specific about how the player product can assist creators in terms of monetization distribution? At this stage, we're not going to be specific about the player. Again, it's commercially sensitive information, and it also isn't our top priority at the moment. We've got a big project ahead of us in terms of getting Elevate out on time, as we promised, and that's really where we're focused at the moment. So the question of could Blackbird collect and sell the data derived from the play? Yes, I think we talked about that one. So yes, potentially we could sell the product, the data, but it's not an immediate priority. Okay, I think these questions we've had before actually. So Stephen Trees mentioned codec 10. Yeah, so we covered that. Yeah, I think we covered all of question 36 earlier, I think. Could we go to the next question? Question from JL. Have you thought also of the model industry? Sure, I don't know which models you mean, but yeah, maybe you could give a bit more information what you mean, JL, on that one. Question from Christopher. Given 100% of the revenue is from enterprise, I'm surprised at the lack of discussion about that side of the business. Can you offer more information about the client losses and what that says about the product market fit of the enterprise product? Well, I think really it's about the competitiveness of that market. It is a competitive market, and we are emphasizing the development of Elevate.io. So we've taken most of the sales team out of the Blackbird side and the marketing side. So there is going to be a natural erosion, and really it's about making sure that we're focusing on those bigger deals that happen in that marketplace. There was one deal that I think I've talked about before, which is A&E Networks. Probably worth just talking about that one because that is a big hit to the order book. A&E Networks signed up Blackbird when it had a product that was as a live program. It was actually that live program was scrapped for various reasons, nothing to do with Blackbird, and it went back to being a fairly documentary library channel, which didn't really need Blackbird at all. So that's why that particular product contract was lost. Okay, so next one from Tim. When should investors get an indication that the launch activities for Elevate are translating into quantifiable sales? Well, we'll let you know when we have that information. Not going to let you know anything at this stage, but we have said before that there will be more information available for Elevate than we did for Blackbird. But we're building this in a multi-threaded way, community building as well as iteration of the product, which starts this month. I've been a shareholder of almost 10 years. Thank you very much. Have you thought about licensing your codec to other companies? Yes, we have, and we talked about a Powered by Blackbird model over the last few years. At this stage, I would say two things. One is that EVS is still rolling out its product, and I think that will be, when it has done that, it will be a great calling card for us. But secondly, Elevate really is like, if you like, internally licensing the codecs for the creator space. So at this stage, we're focusing on those two areas in terms of licensing. Your presentations always talk about getting jammed tomorrow, but you're not making money as reflected in the share price. When do you anticipate making a profit? Thank you, Steve. Well, I think I've covered off most of the points there. I don't think that there's much to say. Is that we are all shareholders and we all want to make a profit as soon as possible, get the share price up, and we think we have the right strategy for that. Did any of your Elevate.io trialists participate in the latest funding round? The latest funding round was with high net worths who are not editors as such, so not directly, no. Yeah, is the Powered by Blackbird offering still in play, or any further licensees likely? Certainly is still in play, but it hasn't had the emphasis on it as other things have, which we talked about. From Tim, did any VCTs or any other institutional investors participate in the last funding round? Steve, do you want to cover off what we can say?
Yeah, no VCTs took part or whatever, but yeah, institutional investors did.
Yeah, so existing shareholders. In terms of Elevate.io investment, have you reached a peak in terms of developing the main product, and what is the likely annual budget ongoing?
Well, as Sumit mentioned, we've all mentioned we're going to be working very much in an agile fashion. Yeah, we've built the platform in a way as well that there's going to be a lot of virality to it. So we want to try and keep our marketing costs down, whatever. But there could be increased spend over time. We will. The marketing will be released as and when we see fit, or whatever like that.
I don't think that's a marketing question. I think that's a development question.
Yeah.
For the main product.
Okay.
I mean, that would be. I think it's really important everyone understands that we're not building a hotel where you put all your capital investment in up front and then you expect to hit capacity at the beginning and that's it, and then it's just a slow decline. The whole point behind this is a SaaS-based product is you ramp up. So when we begin to get traction, we only expect to be developing more and continue to develop more. It would be very strange if our development team was smaller in 3 years than it is today. So we continue that. That's the whole point behind the SaaS business, is just a compounding business. It's not a large capital outlay and then nothing or maintenance.
Yeah.
And as we said, it's going to be an iterative process as well. So ongoing improvements to the platform and everything. Our team is still relatively small compared to our other competitors in the space.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to remember that we're building something with Elevate that no one else has done before, and this is not those big FANGs or Magnificent Seven as they're called now. No one's built this before, so we've done it with a very small budget, it's a very small team. So it's really testament to the skills and the technology that we have in the business.
It's also an advantage at this early stage of a product that you do have a smaller team. It's a bit like having a smaller user base to start with. You get a lot more higher concentration of value. So we're comfortable with the team size. It could always be a little bit bigger, and there could always be a bit more space and more time and more money. But there's no point us either flooding that development process at the beginning with too many people, because you'll be highly inefficient. So it's absolutely doing everything at the right time and scaling appropriately, both with how we expect user numbers to grow, marketing spend to go up, support the team to expand, and of course the development team to continue. And remember, even though the core, which obviously we built a lot of, which will continue to evolve, a lot of the effort in the future will be going and working with third parties to implement the plugin architecture. So there's no shortage of things to do, everything in the right time and scaling accordingly and in a civilized manner, and not out of control or too much at the beginning, and you really run into a problem there.
Yeah, there was a question on geographical split before there. I think it was went off, but it said, how can a small London microcap expect to market to the world? Maybe
I mean that's the internet. That's the benefit of the internet. There really will be the end users wouldn't even know whether we're a UK company. In fact, to be fair, there's a huge amount of effort coming from the Eastern European area now at the moment with software development. They're probably doing better than the UK is as a country at actually producing products and selling them into the Western market. So it's a global market. We know the US will absolutely be the biggest market. There's no debate about that. It will be the leading market. Probably Asia, will also has a lot of opportunity. That's a massive growing market in the video space. You'll see how some of the YouTube channels now are pretty much dominated at the top now by Indian channels, and the rest of Asia will continue with its volume of people. It's absolutely up to us to go where the interest is and to follow our nose. So that's another important point about our marketing effort, is we go where we're successful and we double down and we let the market take us where or give us the indications as to where to go, and then we take those opportunities. What we're not doing is putting up a signpost on the A40 and expecting all of our users to be people who pass that one particular signpost. That would be madness, and it wouldn't take any advantage of digital marketing, which is by far the best way for us to get into the market.
Yeah, I think it's about not being too prescriptive as well. We're giving the product to the users to develop, to use themselves and to take it in the direction that they feel it's appropriate. And I think that's really about following success. So the next question is kind of related to that, I think, which is, can we expect a flashy, exciting launch of Elevate.io? And how will the new social media guru be used, and have they been doing since they've been employed? Well, I'm not sure what the word flashy, but I think that over time there will be exciting content created for Elevate.io at the right time, when we feel the product has reached the maturity and stability where it can be taken to a really wide market. And in terms of the social media side of it, yes, it's all about building community. So that's what we're doing currently, taking that community with us, and that will start very soon in the next few days.
I think it's really important to stress that we're not going to do a big, flashy, exciting launch of Elevate IA. That's entirely what we're saying we're not doing. I understand the temptation to want to do that, and we can smash a bottle of champagne or cut a ribbon, but it has no value in this market at all. Absolutely no value. Worse, it sets yourself up for failure, and it sets yourself up for unnecessary marketing expenses. It's far more important that we lean into this and get that gradual build up. The same way you only get the benefit of SaaS if you behave like SaaS. And if we go for a massive, huge launch at the beginning, we'll only likely hit the wrong market and then end up in a decline thereafter. So it's really important that we lean into this and we grow with it. And I ask for people's patience in understanding that we're moving forward. We're taking steps at a time to get up there. We're not trying to make one big giant leap, which you can just get so wrong and end up wasting all the money and then having to either raise a hell of a lot more to do it all over again in a different way, which would be a disaster.
Precisely, yeah, and Sumit touched on it earlier. Actually, data is going to be key here. We'll double down in the areas where we see that we're having success.
Yeah.
Okay, so David, in terms of corporate costs, do you see yourself needing more employees or less once Elevate Platform.io has launched and the main development stage is complete? I think we covered that off with the point that we always want to keep improving the platform, and therefore we don't see our dev team getting smaller in terms of size or expenditure. Who are the high net worth individuals who invested? What is their background, and how do they come across Blackbird? I mean, I get introduced to people all the time. I'm always pitching the Blackbird story, as you know, as a shareholder and a big believer in the technology and in the opportunity. I'm always flying the flag. So they're not willing to be talked about openly, but they are very important for us in terms of talking to generally behind the scenes. Ian, do you believe we are a unicorn in the waiting? I'm not going to say anything about unicorns. It's really unlucky to talk about unicorns. We believe we've got a big opportunity, and we're in a big market. We've got the right team and the right technology. So, judge for yourself. Andy, if the end of Q1 is a freemium product, when you're looking to launch the paid version of Elevate.io, it will be an agile process, Andy, and we'll launch it when we feel as that it has enough on it that people want to pay for. It will hopefully be sooner rather than later, but it's going to be an agile process, an iterative process. David, you mentioned some of the competitors entering the creator space. Do you see them as competing in the same part of the market that you're choosing, and how much are they a threat for market share? Something you want to take on?
Yeah, the fact that there are people who are moving more into space, that's great validation for us. You never want to be the sole provider in a market like this. It's impossible. We are encouraged by the efforts that have been made by others. We're confident that our placing of a tool, not a toy, puts us in a great position. We're not going for the mass market. We're not going for the very low end users. We're really going for the reliable everyday tool that can be used by really very competent amateurs all the way up to the professional market. So it's encouraging. We still believe we have a massive edge because of our core technology in the way that we're doing it. We also are very confident in the way that we're going to be placing this in the market, that we're not being right on top of someone else or right next to somebody else. We believe that we're placing ourselves appropriately. Of course, that will change with time as more people enter the market, but we know everybody who's out there, obviously. We know what they're doing, and we're comfortable that this is just nothing more than positive validation of what we're doing.
Yeah, and again, Stephen's technology has given us a real head start. So.
Yeah, and then the next question, I mean, just to touch on that, we have a very high gross margin, and it's very, it's not all the whiz bang, look at this amazing editor thing, but behind the scenes, we have over 90% gross margin in M&E, and that technology will help us much more profitable users in Elevate.io, and the competitors that are out there are not, they don't have that technology ideas of how to make that so efficient. So, they're not even thinking about making a comparable product, is what I'm saying there.
Yeah. So our next question from Nick B. Will you be exhibiting at NAB in April? We will be present at NAB, and we'll be meeting people at NAB. It's really important for us to make sure that we put our resources, our finite resources, into the areas where we're going to get the best return. And meeting people at NAB is important for the for Blackbird product, so we will be there, but it won't be a huge expenditure on a stand or anything. It's really about making sure we meet the right people in the right place. From Adam, for Elevate.io, have you thought about a referral program where users can refer new users in exchange for perks, e.g. a free month of subscription referral? Something you can.
Yes, absolutely. That's a great SaaS strategy, and it will be something that we will be doing.
Nick B, will it be possible to bring Canva design graphics into Elevate.io? Could this help link Canva users with Elevate?
It's not other than exporting them from Canva, then they will be able to be imported through PNGs or SVGs. There is no direct conversion between the two. It's a possibility for one of the input plugins for sure. It's not one that we've hugely explored, but just the general process of being able to export from Canva into Elevate would help. I like the thinking though. It's something that I'll look into a little bit more.
From Nick E, after the launch of Elevate.io, how often will you update shareholders on the take-up for both freemium usage and paid subscribers? I think this is something that we will be sensitive to the commercial sensitivity of the information. We'll certainly be doing our regular updates with you, and I think there'll be more information available. There'll be more data available that might not just be on the actual users, but on how they're using it, how often they're using it. Is it a daily driver? How is the viral nature of it? There'll be a whole host of data there that we would like to share with you, which we will take a judgment on whether it's commercially sensitive for our competition. Anything you want to cover off there, Steve?
No, I think it's fine.
JL has expanded on the modelling point, human modelling. It's very much a large industry with international interest. Listen, Elevate.io could be used by any number of industries.
We don't watch what people are doing. It would be completely against our terms of service. We're not able to spy on what users do. So every industry, as long as they operate and they agree with our terms and conditions, we can be used by anybody. We obviously will make our own efforts into markets that we believe have the highest traction and promote within there. And of course, as mentioned in the earlier post about using referrals, we'll also be using, of course, affiliates and other influencers into the spaces that we know is the quickest way to grow from a marketing point of view. Certainly the most cost-effective way is to go through influencers and affiliates. So we'll push into areas that make sense.
Question on product from David A. How modular would the product be?
Very. We have always described this as essentially a base platform, really more than just a pure product. It is a content creation platform, which will obviously be moving more into distribution in the right time. But we've always explained that there'll always be the ability to connect with people through input, through processing and output. Input could be us working with a camera. So the camera could directly connect to Elevate, and content could move straight over. That's called camera to cloud. Very popular concept, and we'll be part of that. Processing wise, we believe by far the most opportunity. This is, if anything, the thing that sets us most apart from NLEs and definitely from the other online players. And without wanting to give too much away, plugins at the moment in the video world are really quite niche. They're quite limited. They're quite complex. For us, we see content creation in the way that we're building this tool to help people create content. We want to be able to have as many plugins as possible. If someone wanted to create a graph or bring in a chart, or even we were talking about one yesterday with the focus group, if somebody wanted to have a little animated map showing going from point A to point B, well, a plugin could be generated where you just put in the coordinates of A and B, put some styling options, and it creates you a nice animated, either the flying or a road map or something. Things like that are almost impossible with other tools. But with Elevate, because of the nature of the way that we're building the plugins, people will be able to come up with ways to generate content. It doesn't have to be just AI. It could be, beautify this chart or something like that, or other elements, stock footage, obviously with other libraries. And then, of course, on the output side, we know that we'll be able to output, obviously, to File, obviously to our own distribution efforts, but also to YouTube, Insta, TikTok, Vimeo, Kaltura, Kumu, any of the other destinations. We want our product to be sat there as a platform working with everything, and we don't have to do the work. That's the best bit about it, is obviously we want to encourage partners to build the product that works with us.
Thanks, Simon. Question from GR. Ian, can you please list the companies you classify as big tech? What I referred to earlier was the companies used to be called FANGs, but of course have all changed their names, and they're now, I believe, called the Magnificent Seven, which I think now includes Tesla, I think, but it's a definition. I'm sure you can Google it. You mentioned that Elevate.io is not for social media, but could a slimmed down version be made for social media companies for internal comms and domestic or academic use?
I honestly, I think that it is absolutely intended for social media. That's one of the very big use cases that we have for it, and internal comms, and definitely academic use. And we've been using examples of that. A lot of the people that we were working with during all of the early access period all come from those disciplines. One of the most exciting things that we've seen, and it's actually my background is in the city and video distribution within the financial markets, and everybody that we've worked with or that we've talked to about Elevate as we're building it out, every one of the brokers, the houses, etc., every one of them sparks up a genuine interest, not a, oh, that looks really great, but a genuine interest of, you know what, we've always wanted to do. We've always wanted to be able to use video more, but we can't because of the complexity of the tools or the effort required, etc. But this looks like this could help us. So yeah. We're deliberately building the product to be a generic product. Now, I think building a generic product is so much harder than building a product that only serves one very narrow market. But I feel very confident in doing that because, you know, the team has done this before. But in that generic product, we will be usable by anybody. I think the joke is the can of Coke could be drunk by a tramp on the street or the president of the United States. And we definitely want to have that kind of ubiquity, a bit like Apple does, like Nike does, where you're able to be used by any part of the market very happily. You know, Microsoft is obviously another great company for spanning the market.
I think the confusion might have come from when I said we're not about TikTok in the initial stages. We're talking about
sure, and I think social media is such a broad topic now. I think it means anyone other than broadcast media now. Yeah. I think it's fair. So, you know what? I think we may have at the beginning been less interested in that side, but when you look at the recent rise, so another interest area that's grown up for us during the trial period, only because of our work with others or working with individuals, is TikTok Shop has gone bonkers. It's gone absolutely huge. It's growing at a rate that is just unbelievable. And they've had everyone can look into how they've exactly done it, but they've essentially opened up the market so that everyone can make adverts for the products that they sell. It's genius. They've outsourced their advertising. Well, all those people with the great creative and smart ideas need a technology to be able to build those little adverts. So funnily enough, it is something that we've been looking at more, and it may be fair that we've historically not been so pro the short form TikTok content, but when you now look at how that's more from a video of a cat skateboarding down the road for fun into actually very specific adverts which are aimed at consumers where you do need a slightly more powerful tool, then actually the opportunity is just there.
Question from Mark. Elevate.io, will it be multilingual?
Eventually, all of the technology that we're using has the capability of multi-language, but we'll definitely be English first.
Yeah, another product question. Who will be able to participate in the affiliate program? Can you give us any idea about the deals or rewards?
It will be open to everybody, and I can't remember the platform off the top of my head. It's that we're using to work with affiliates, but essentially you'll be able to sign up, get an affiliate code, and then be able to be remunerated for anybody who signs up through your affiliate code. Sorry, I can't be more specific, but we will obviously make that very public when we do it.
Great. I think that's the end of the questions. Jake?
Absolutely. Ian, Stephen, thank you very much indeed for being so generous with your time there and addressing all of those questions that came in from investors. And of course, if there are any further questions that do come through, we'll make these available to you immediately after the presentation has ended, just for you to review, to then add any additional responses, of course, where it's appropriate to do so. And we'll publish all those responses out on the platform. But Ian, perhaps before really just looking to redirect those on the call to provide you with their feedback, which I know is particularly important to yourself and the company, if I could please just ask you for a few closing comments to wrap up with, that'd be great.
Yeah, of course, Jake. So we stand now at the cusp of a general access moment. It's not a linear launch. We're going to be iterating and we're learning as we go, building a community. But it's a hugely exciting moment for the business that we've got the platforms to the stage. I just want to really say, hold your hats, and thank you very, very much for your support over the years and currently, and hope you continue to support in the future. Thank you very much.
Ian, that's great. And thank you once again for updating investors today. Could I please ask investors not to close this session, as you'll now be automatically redirected for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that the management team can really better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of BLACKBIRD PLC, we would like to thank you for attending today's presentation. That now concludes today's session, so good afternoon to you all.